The film is In Search of Greatness, opens November 2nd. Gabe Polsky, filmmaker, director, thank you for joining me for a chat.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
First of all, as I mentioned off here, I love the film. I watched it this morning. The Gretzky stuff really resonated with me. I was a kid who played hockey in the 80s, and as a Bruins fan here in Boston, hated Wayne Gretzky because he was one of those guys that, and I kept thinking about it as I'm watching. I'm like, people are going to feel the same way about him in like 20 years. They're going to feel that way about Tom Brady, because while they're playing and while they're beating your team up, you can't respect, oh no, he's the worst. And of course, here in Boston, we had, our goal scorer was Cam Neely, who had as many goals as he did fights. So he's like, that was where we went. It's like, he's a wimp. He doesn't fight,
Yeah.
Now 20 years so on later, it's like, yeah, he was the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And I loved in the film how every time I see the Tom Brady combine footage, it makes me laugh to see where he is now. And I liked the direction you took with how regimented and how much numbers and stats and all that stuff goes into these combines, but they don't actually equal the results at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And how these, one of the things I really liked was the ones that do become like great, for lack of a better term, it's the name of the movie, Greatness. They're kind of they go against the grain. They buck authority. I guess my question, as I'm just kind of breaking down your movie, first of all, I believe we're around the same age. I'm 39.
Yeah.
You
Same
too?
age, yep.
Where'd you grow up?
Chicago, Illinois, like northern suburb. Yeah,
Okay.
Chicago area.
So, were you a Blackhawks fan?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what was your, because watching it, I just kept, and like I said, the Gretzky thing really hit with me, because everything he was saying was like, oh yeah, we did. We used to just go out and play street hockey for hours and hours. Is that similar to how you grew up? I mean,
it was amazing though, because I grew up in this town called Glencoe, Illinois, and for some reason there was an outdoor rink there,
Mm-hmm.
and there weren't a lot actually in the Chicago.
Like an official rink.
It was just like it was actually kind of an official rink. It was called Watts, and there weren't that many around. Okay. So I thankfully, like, I got to just like, mess around and play shinny, and it was the best experience. Honestly, I haven't had better experience playing hockey than since I was a kid at that rink.
'Cause that's when it's just fun.
Yeah, you're just having fun, and there's no, like refs, and
right.
You're just playing around and experimenting and having a great time, in the outdoors, and that really was actually the bedrock of my skills as a hockey player, and actually, like, I don't know, like, was the reason why, if I had any uniqueness to my game, it was all because of that,
Right.
So.
And I loved watching, like, seeing him just out there and talking about, we used to just go out onto the pond.
Yeah.
And the comment he made rings so true, where it was, if you told a kid today, hey, let's go out in the pond and play, they wouldn't have a clue. It's just it's a lost part of childhood, I guess.
Yeah.
Which
is like the bedrock of, guys like Gretzky and Pele and all the greatest. I mean, they say it themselves that's where they developed all their skills, and they were experimenting, and
it was just something they loved to do.
And they loved it, yeah.
They
did it all day long. They didn't want to do anything else.
Right, and it wasn't like the nice part about it was when he was talking about his father and how he was nurturing the craft without pushing it. Mm-hmm. It was like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to go shoot pucks. Okay, go shoot pucks. But seeing that, and because you can't force that type of thing.
Yeah.
It was wild, because also in the film you included the footage of Tiger Woods.
Yeah. And
when he was a child. And I think one of the more shocking things to me was when the host of the show put the microphone down, and he goes, how old are you? And he said 2 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
And he was driving balls.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you what I was doing at 2 years old, but it definitely wasn't thinking about driving balls on television.
Yeah.
But that's also, I guess that is like almost the exception
Yeah, it sort of is. Tiger Woods in the movie was an example of how parents can maybe be a stronger role, sort of maybe pushing or encouraging their kids to do certain things because he was like so young and doing that. But I guess the question is, did Tiger love hitting the ball even at 2 years old? Did he just want to do it, or did his dad push him? I guess that's the question with Tiger. But the example in the movie was sort of showing that kids can learn so many different things at a very early age if they're exposed to it. And exposing kids to different things is important because your brain is malleable and it could pick up anything.
He probably was
languages.
Born with a golf club.
Yeah. But a lot of kids could play when they're 2 if we just gave it to them. And then again, it's not a thing of like, oh, I want my kid to be great at everything. I got to do this. I got to do that. That. Like schedule them to hell and
Yeah,
but
because that doesn't foster fun. That almost drives the kid being
crazy.
Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's almost like work at 4 years old.
I think you should. The best thing is to understand. Is for kids sort of you start to see naturally what your kid likes and dislikes and and it's about that, finding passion but being open. You don't have to find the passion of your life at 2 or 5 years old. Listen, I didn't know I wanted to make films until I was a senior in college.
Really?
So
what made you want to get into film?
Well, I was sort of I thought maybe in college I wanted to see if I could be a professional hockey player. That didn't work out at the end of my college career.
You played in college as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just sort of, my roommate was doing sketch comedy and he was writing a lot and editing videos, and I just thought that seemed really interesting. He was really good at that, and I thought that I was sort of a kid that loved to kind of make people laugh and kind of cause trouble in school all the time. And, I thought I'd be a good storyteller. And so I didn't know exactly where I would fit in, but I started to read and learn about it and get some experience. And I started out as a producer because I thought that's where I could fit in, but then realized a little later that I thought I had the ability that I could direct and write. And so I pursued that and basically kind of, took some risks along the way and jumped in basically.
Who would you say some of your influences were?
I think Werner Herzog was a big influence. I liked Grizzly Man when I saw it. I thought it was like totally weird and unique, and I'm sort of a weird guy too, but I'm more commercial than Herzog. But
I was going to ask because I saw his name in the special thanks, and then looking up your IMDb, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. You were a producer on it.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about working with him. And
so like that was actually I don't know, I want to say like 27 or something. It was one of the first things we got involved with, and it happened really quickly. And the movie Bad Lieutenant with Nick Cage, we started shooting it in New Orleans in the summer, and basically the whole, once the movie was financed, it was basically we were just there. We were just absorbing everything Werner and Nick were doing together, and just actually trying to coax them on to be more crazy and creative. Because the film itself could have been a disaster from a creative standpoint, in a sense that if it was done sort of straightforward, it would be boring, And so these guys added a tremendous amount of weirdness to it, and so that was fun. Just sort of sitting there, learning, watching, and being there. Obviously we produced it, but there wasn't, with a Werner Herzog movie, there's not much you do. You just let the guy make the movie. Yeah. And so we were so young, we had no right to say anything. So that was.
Now, I guess just as we wrap that movie talk up, just for clarity, because I was a huge fan of the original.
Yeah.
Would you consider it a remake or a continuation?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it's about a lieutenant that's sort of, morally debased, and I mean, it's basically about the same thing. It's a different location. It's different act. We didn't write scene. We didn't write scene for scene. A remake would be something. It was
like you were copy and pasting.
Yeah. It's a different story, a different whatever, but it's a Bad Lieutenant. So
that's how I felt as well.
It's like James Bond.
Right.
Exactly.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to think. And Yeah.
Because people did call it a remake. I think we even started calling it. I don't know why, but
Well, I think it's almost commonplace now that when you see a title that has a past, whatever it is, it could be a completely, like you said, different story.
yeah,
That there's always going to be that comparison now.
yeah.
And was there any consideration to call it something else? Or was it always Bad Lieutenant?
No, there was. And we did call it Werner made the thing. He thinks it's like brilliant, but Port of Call New Orleans,
Right.
Bad Lieutenant Port of Call New Orleans. So I guess it's
As
a
opposed to
different
just straight Bad
name.
Lieutenant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But I love the original, and
Yeah.
that's why we like.
And it was a ballsy movie when it came out, the original
Yeah,
one. I mean,
yeah.
what
And what a
David
great
Ferrara did
performance.
was, Keitel was
Yeah.
amazing in it.
He was so
shocking.
strange
Yeah.
and interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And again, I completely enjoyed the Nick Cage take on it because
Yeah.
he's Nick Cage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. He was born for that.
You never knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved even just he had like 4 accents in the movie. It was
Yeah,
like,
I know.
That's awesome. It's because it's
Christ.
anyone else you wouldn't accept that. Anyone
That
else you'd be
is-
like,
by the
he
way-
couldn't pick an accent. No, it's Nicolas Cage.
That is the funniest thing that you've said that anyone said about the movie. You're right, though.
He did, and it
I know.
was so him, and it made that character because the character was so out there. It was such a crazy movie and a crazy premise. So yeah, I loved how that worked so well, and just the marrying of him.
When we saw it for the first time, because Werner was cutting it, whatever,
Yeah.
the screening room. My brother and I looked at each other after the screening, and we're just like in shock. Like, what are people gonna think of this? Are they gonna
What
is
did
this
we
gonna
do?
be? Yeah, either it's gonna be like a Herzog, like just
Yeah.
hilarious, amazing, or people be like, what the hell?
What did we do?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
It turned out all right.
it
so,
worked for
yeah.
you. It did. And In Search of Greatness. I mean, it's a wonderful documentary. Now you've also done documentaries on the Russian hockey team as well from
Yeah, Red Army.
Red Army. And is that more your field of storytelling you want to go down, you want to continue with, or is it
Not
just something you dip into when there's a story to be told?
Yeah, I think that, and I like the form. I like documentaries, and I, the both stories are something I was passionate about enough to kind of spend so much time doing it.
Yeah. How long?
I
did it
think I
take,
could
by the
be
way?
good. How long is this movie?
Well, no. How long did it take to put this together?
In Search of Greatness took about 2 years, but
Okay.
kind of on and off
Sure,
because it took a while to get the athletes and.
That's reminded
Yeah.
me. Was there anyone you wanted?
Yeah, I mean, I hate focusing on who I didn't get, but
Sure,
I
sure,
would have
sure.
loved to get Michael Jordan. I would have loved to get.
Especially Chicago.
I went
yeah.
after him hard. Went after Serena Williams hard. Willie Mays. I went after hard, and actually a couple other women.
Mhm. But it's nice that you also included their story in it. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
the Jordan Hall of Fame
Yeah.
speech. That can go up there with some of the comedy roasts you
Yeah,
see. He was running down people. It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
And he was so serious.
He
There's
was.
no roasting there. This
No.
is like dead serious.
This was like a guy quitting his job on the last day and just
Yeah.
being like, and you, and
Yeah.
you, and you. It was, and it's like,
But
dude, you're the king of this sport. You should be on cloud 9, and this is like, and for
Yeah.
you who didn't pick me, and you didn't put me on a magazine, and it's like, holy crap, man.
But that shows
That's how
is-
much passion he had even after retiring.
Yeah, and what drives somebody.
Right.
I think that, that tremendous anger that he had
Yeah.
for these things, whether it was real or not real.
Sure.
You can take that anger and transform it into beauty on the court,
Right.
like the unbelievable performance.
Mm.
But it drove him.
It did.
And we all, it's somewhat relatable in a sense
absolutely.
that we all have something to
Absolutely.
prove.
It also, and it was one of those things that Gretzky talked about was reading like negative things about him.
Yeah.
And I've heard, actors and filmmakers and stuff. I don't read reviews. I don't read critics. Whereas the sports world, they not only read them, but they they put them on the wall, and it's
Yeah.
like they put the negative ones up,
Yeah.
and they make that drive. And it's like, yeah, I see exactly where he's coming from with all
Yeah.
that stuff. And also, another thing
But I mean, I don't agree with you. I think that
No?
a lot of actors and filmmakers, they do read everything. I'm pretty
So you
sure.
think that's just
I would,
a put
I would
on?
bet. I think that's a put on. I think
Okay.
probably
I don't pay attention
because
to the critics.
because how do you know what? No, hold on.
Yeah.
How do you know what effect your work is having on people if you don't read anything. You're an idiot if you're not
Right.
reading, because you have to know what people think. You're doing it not for yourself.
Mhm.
You're doing it. You're putting a movie out there so audiences
Right.
see it.
You want people.
So
to,
you want to know what effect it's having.
And I agree with you.
So
I like hearing more, constructive more than just,
feedback,
that was great, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
But what didn't you like?
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And I take that stance more along the side of the athlete stuff. I mean, I guess I wouldn't call myself athlete. I was an athletic kid. I played all the sports. Went through high school, played hockey, played football, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, you wanted to. I agree 100%. You want to learn. You want to grow. You can't just rest on your laurels.
These are people, the critics, whatever. I mean, I'm not saying that their word is gold, but like they spend their lives
It's an
watching
opinion
movies
too.
I mean, this is what they
Yeah.
do. They're professional, movie watchers. Like, if anyone, you want to kind of know what they think.
At the very least, know what they think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another part of
But
it.
yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go right ahead. Finish.
No, I don't really.
You sure?
Have anything? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And the last thing before we wrap up, it was Jerry Rice was always talking about how he looked, and he wanted to present himself in a certain way. And again, all the stories kept relaying me back to childhood. And even, when he was talking about it, there was a couple clips of Gretzky on the ice, and I'm like, yeah, if you look at any youth hockey team back in those 80s, you'd see like about a half dozen kids with half the shirt tucked in. Why? Because Gretzky did it.
That's
You look at the
funny,
youth,
man.
the basketball teams. They all had Jordans
It's funny.
on.
We're on the same age. We're the same age. So I went through the same. Yeah,
Look
exactly.
at my youth hockey photos.
We all did. It's so funny.
had the right side tucked in. Now mine was because Ray Bork tucked it in.
Yeah.
But you see all the kids, and Gretzky had his tucked in, and it was like that's just what people did. And it's amazing the generational things like that, because now you don't see that. Now people look at the picture like, why is half your shirt tucked in? It's like, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
what my favorite hockey player dressed like, So you just want, because that's what you
Totally.
want it to be.
Yeah.
And
But the important thing with that is that people don't understand this, but these guys are performers. They pay attention to what they look like and the image, not just the image, but sort of it's all part of the whole
it's a package.
performance, right? And just they're selling tickets. They're artists. You got to find the artistry in things, and that's something we don't talk about or really understand. Just that's like the essence of greatness in sport. We're entertaining. We're selling tickets. We're entertaining people, but we're there to win. But we remember the great moments and how people looked, and
Mm-hmm. And that's what they want, because they are entertainers.
Yeah.
This is a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
We sit at home, we watch it on TV,
Yeah,
we pay tickets to go to games. It's just the same as going to a movie.
Yeah.
You're paying tickets to be entertained, and that's part of the presentation.
Yeah.
We wouldn't expect you want the costumes.
You're not there to watch the coaches. You're
Right.
like, oh, let's see, what does he call now? This guy.
Right.
Oh, what a genius!
Right.
You go there because you want to see the greats.
Yeah, you want to see the greats do what they do
Yeah,
best, and that's
exactly.
the part of it. In Search of Greatness, it comes out November 2nd. Gabe, thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
This
man.
has been
Thanks
awesome.
a lot. Yeah.
Thank you.
Take care.